Hey everybody, what's going on? Fabian for Liberty. FabianForLiberty.com is my website. Also check out the new ResourcefulRealEstateAcademy.com website. Okay, so for a while now, 3 years, maybe longer, you know that I've been talking about the global reserve currency, the US dollar, likely coming to an end, shifting in this global economic reset. And today we get news, really not news, one of the rating agencies, I think it was Fitch, I get these email notifications from them, said a few weeks ago, this was also talked about a few months ago as well if you just go on the IMF website, but apparently the decision is coming down this week. Before it was speculation that the Chinese currency, the yuan, will now enter the small list of currencies that make up the IMF SDR, which is the British pound sterling, the euro, the Japanese yen, the US dollar, and now the yuan. Big move, definitely a big move. And what I find interesting is that all these analysts are saying, yeah, this is big for the Chinese dollar. They're, the Chinese government's been trying to get investors to buy into this as a potential global reserve currency. And, we think that maybe they could have 10% of the market by 2030. And they're, what I think most pundits fail to realize right now is that the world is literally fundamentally changing. And I find it very interesting that in light of this current climate conference that they're having in Paris, over 140 world leaders talking about, in fact, that was going to be the video that I was going to do today. I mean, make no mistake, in Paris today, they're not talking about saving the polar bears. They're talking about the multi-tens of trillions of dollar carbon market that they are going to monetize and make a killing. I find it interesting that today is when news kind of breaks of this, of the yuan entering the IMF SDR. I also find it interesting in light of global events that are shaping up last week with Turkey and with Russia, the now potential World War III scenario against first ISIS. And let me just give you what I think is happening, the breakdown here. All world wars, in my opinion, ultimately are economic in nature. Not even world wars. If you look at the Civil War, the American Civil War was an economic war. If you look at World War I, it was really an economic war where the Anglo nations didn't like the fact that Germany was on the rise in this economic industrial powerhouse. If you look at World War II, after World War II, we see that the dollar became the world reserve currency. Many people in the 1930s, if you recall, when the U.S. was in the Depression, they would have been like, "That's crazy. That'll never happen." We're living in those times right now. And let me just be crystal clear here. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't mean it's the end of the economy. In fact, I would go on a limb and say it means more opportunity for people that are resourceful, more opportunity for people that kind of know where things are headed. I mean, again, throughout all of these periods of history that I talked about, there was entrepreneurship, there was financial markets, there were all that stuff. So the people that say that's going to be over, or I would venture to say people that really already have nothing really going on in their life. So they're just going to say that. And sorry if that, hurts some feelings around here, but it's just a reality. The U.S. government is going down in flames. NATO is going down in flames. And the whole Western world is going down in flames currently. Right now it is. Economically, militarily. I think Putin, who is clearly trying to challenge NATO, will challenge NATO, and NATO will crumble. NATO will not rise. In my last video, I said it's Article 5, it's Article 4. It was a slip. Article 4, where an attack on one nation is an attack on all nations. I don't think they're going to live up to that commitment. The scenario for World War III, where you have a breakup of NATO, and you have some NATO countries, I believe, joining Russia to fight against Islamic terrorism run by the West and funded by other Western nations, I think that's really the potential of World War III. And around that centers economies. Centers, well, who's going to control the economy at the end of the day? Bloomberg had a great article about 2 weeks ago about China's military, how they want to just not only be a powerhouse within the country, but expand beyond their borders and show that military might. One of the largest militaries, if not the largest military in the world, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not like, this isn't like, 50 years ago where just like Americans had the best scientists or the Russians. Today, it's like, brilliant scientists are everywhere. All they need is the capital to finance, weapons of destruction and death. And all of these countries have cutting-edge militaries today. And if they are not on par with the U.S., they're not far away from it. Make no mistake, they're not far away from it. I think what we're seeing today is the IMF, who clearly, in my opinion, wants World War III. They clearly are run by international bankers. They're behind, in my opinion, a lot of the destabilization we've seen today, destabilization campaigns throughout the Middle East and West Africa. I believe they are paving the way, signaling to markets and signaling to others that they are ready to begin the process of really destroying the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And this isn't necessarily new. Christine Lagarde said not too long ago that, she could potentially see the headquarters of the IMF in Beijing. So now it's interesting. Yeah, Beijing is now or China's currency is now added to Japan, Europe, the US. Where do things go from here? I'd love to hear your feedback on this, but no doubt about it, IMF sending a Hellfire missile to the US dollar may not happen overnight. It won't happen overnight. In fact, they're saying that even if it's added to the basket of currencies this week, it's not going to be implemented until 2016, end of 2016. But again, the truth is that the world is fundamentally changing, and it's changing fast, ladies and gentlemen, very fast. Buckle your seatbelts. I'm Fabian for Liberty. Thanks for watching. I'm out.